Call me the notorious SICK, my bedroom is now Kaled, and I feel like I have scarlet rot. But if you think that will stop me from talking about the video games industry, then allow me to reintroduce myself. Because I have a bit of a conspiracy theory, if you will, in regards to the future of the video games industry, and specifically Sony and PlayStation. Could PlayStation be making the move to PC? Now, I know what you may be saying. Jmulls, you sound kinda stupid right now. Maybe need to take a step back, reevaluate yourself so you don't sound stupid on the internet again. And when you look at the past, I can understand that. When you look at the pre-established notions of the video games industry, and the console scene specifically, it makes a lot of sense. Why someone saying Sony may be making the move to PC, or at least doubling down in PC, may sound a little bit out of pocket. However, when you look closely at the trends that they have been undergoing, the decisions that they have been making, a few pieces of the puzzle start to fall into line, and while I wouldn't say it's definitive right now, I would definitely say that if it does end up happening, well, then we can look back at these pieces of quote-unquote evidence and say, well, we can see how we went from point A to point B. So for the longest time, there's been kind of two main sides of gaming. You can argue three with mobile, but the two main ones have been console gaming and PC gaming, and they used to specialize in different strengths. PC gaming always focused more so on power, but also modability. So if you're willing to put in the extra mile, you could get the extra mile out of it. Whereas console game was always a little bit more straightforward and simple. You buy a disc, you plug it into your console, and you play. But over the years, that kind of line between PC gaming and console gaming has kind of blurred over the years, as consoles have moved more and more towards becoming essentially scuffed PCs. Or at least PCs with way more restrictions. You see, it used to be the case that the console scene would compete against one another with their hardware and their exclusives, and they all kind of existed in their own little echo chambers. However, over the years that has kind of changed, as Nintendo is no longer just simply a stay-at-home console. They've embraced the hybridization model for the Switch, and I will imagine that the next console will have that same functionality. We've even seen PlayStation kind of reach into that pocket with the PlayStation Portal, but that's a conversation for another day. And Xbox is no longer just a console brand, they've branched fully into PC as well, with parity in their release schedule for the exclusives, with both their console scene but also on their PC. So we've already seen one of the big three embrace PC gaming in a lot of ways. But Sony is no stranger to PC gaming either. They've started porting games to PC. Horizon, Ratchet & Clank. Look, I'm sick, I know there's others, but dude, look, my memory no working right now, you know? Final Fantasy, duh! Final Fantasy 16 is coming to PC, Final Fantasy 7 Remake Integrate came to PC, and I imagine Rebirth will come to PC at some point in the future as well. We've even seen games like God of War come to PC as well. Spider-Man and Miles Morales came to PC. The only real distinction here is that not every exclusive PlayStation has comes to PC, and when they do, they're normally like a year or a year and a half, maybe 2 years out from their initial release on console. And when it comes to just that, you may be saying, well, okay, this doesn't kind of go against pre-established notions for Sony or PlayStation. Sure, they may be branching into PC, but the PlayStation 5 is still their kind of love child right now. It's still their pride and joy, it's still their focus, and I agree. But if you even go back like 10 years or so, and you look at all the games that have come to PC, that would be an alien concept for every, or at least nearly every, one of these giant consoles. Sure, Microsoft has already fully embraced PC gaming, but Sony is coming along there. And I think this has come to a head with their latest release, Helldivers 2. A lot of people expected 2024 to be a bit of an off year, or not even necessarily an off year, just a slow year for PlayStation. Sure, they have Rebirth and Rise of the Ronin, but people weren't expecting all that much out of PlayStation this year. But out of nowhere, seemingly, Helldivers 2 comes into the scene and blows expectations out of the water and becomes this massive smash hit, to the point where the servers couldn't keep up. and they had to cap people out because the servers couldn't handle anything more. We don't know how many concurrent players Helldivers 2 could have had up to this point, assuming infinite server capacity and stability, because I don't even think they anticipated the game doing this well. And it's a Sony game, look at who published it. And it's a game that came out on PlayStation and PC at the same time. This wasn't time-gated, and sure, we can argue that before Helldivers 2 came out, no one was looking at it as, say, a title that would do this well, and look at it as, say, one of the lesser titles. But it's still a game published by Sony that they actively chose to release on day one as their PS5 version on PC. And the game blew up. And it's not like Sony or PlayStation exists in a bubble. Look over to Xbox with Palworld. Look at how well that game did on PC. Just the Steam numbers alone, let alone Game Pass, blew the entire Xbox platform out of the water in terms of how many copies were sold/played in total. Most of them came from Steam, let alone Xbox consoles or PC Game Pass. And this can be a bit of a eye-opening experience for a lot of people, especially those not well-versed in PC gaming. PC gaming is big, and Steam is the heavy hitter. That's where PlayStation has been porting most of their games when they come to PC. They go to Steam, because, well, that's kind of the de facto marketplace on PC. It's not the only one. You have places like Epic Games, GOG, hell, even Microsoft. But the one that is most utilized is Steam. And now we're seeing not only Palworld, but also Helldivers 2, release day one on PC, be good games, and do absolute numbers, largely in thanks because of the PC platform. You can also, there's also, let's be fair here, a lot of mitigating factors here, like how these games, Palworld was priced at $30 and even went on sale a lot, and that Helldivers 2 is only $40. That is fair, and there's a legitimate argument here that a lot of games aren't priced appropriately or incentivizingly enough. And that a difference between a $40 game and a $70 game may not seem like a lot for a lot of people, but it is for a lot of others. That is entirely fair. But even then, it's not like these games are priced differently from console to PC. And when the expectation for consoles, for the most part, is that they operate as loss leaders, and that the idea of the console sale is to get people into your ecosystem to then buy peripherals or software or games, to where you can make your money back and then some, the console really just serves to give you an environment to hook people in to continue playing your games. And for a lot of time, people have wondered, well, if you just port games to PC, what reason would people have to just buy a console? And that argument does exist, but when we're coming upon a time where even Sony or PlayStation is saying that the sales of the PS5 are below expectation, despite how much of an appeared success the PS5 has had, and that the PlayStation 5 is entering the latter end of its life cycle, you can have a thought experiment here and think, well, Sony is a company, PlayStation's a company, their goal is to make the most money possible. If they are looking at these numbers, and they are starting to come of the opinion and believe that, hey, we're not losing money because we're porting games to PC or whatnot. In fact, we may be even making money, and our games and our IP are becoming more known and talked about because of PC gaming, or at least in some part because of PC. Maybe leading into PC may be a play that they want to do and lean further into in the next few years, at least for the remainder of the PS5 cycle. I think there's a legitimate argument to be had there, and that maybe the calculus that they are doing behind the scenes is leading them to the same conclusion, and they want to test the waters. It is important to note that I don't expect Sony or PlayStation to just flip the switch like Xbox did all those years ago and just port all their games to PC and to remain that way. I don't imagine that's the case. But I can imagine Sony looking at the success of games like Palworld and now Helldivers 2, one of their games, and going, okay, why don't we try this again? Why don't we dip our toe, or another toe at least, into this realm, into this business model, and see where it goes? What if we start to lean more into PC gaming and not view it as competition or an adversary, but something that we can embrace, to broaden our brand recognition and get more games sold to more players? Now you do have to worry a little bit if they want to continue to use Steam about that Steam cut that Steam will get off the top of every sale. And I imagine that has gone into PlayStation's calculus for a while now, but they still lean into Steam because, well, Steam is kind of the place to be on PC. And we have seen how hard it can be to establish a rival to Steam on PC. Hell, even Microsoft is struggling to do that. Epic Games is trying to buy their way into success, but they've still not created an ecosystem that is as user-friendly as Steam. GOG has its defenders, but it's not as big as Steam even. It can be a really tough market to break into, especially when you already have a base of console players. But I think if Sony does the math and they come out the other side saying, hey, wait a minute, there's money on the table here, they're a business. They're not going to care about tradition. They're not going to care about what has worked before. They're going to care about what can make money now and what will make more money tomorrow. That's what they're going to care about more so than anything else. Now, I'm not going to lock this in as something definitive because, let's be fair here, Sony is prone to making stupid decisions from time to time. Or just decisions that completely baffle us as to what their reasoning is, or what it could possibly be. But I think when you look at the trends on the whole, and you look at the direction that Sony has been taking, and what they have been saying, you can start to see a pattern develop. Is it set in stone? No. But it's one of those things where if it does happen in the future, we will look back on these decisions and say, oh, it was right in front of us all along. Sony has been dipping their toe into PC gaming for a while now, and they're starting to trend in that direction even more with games like Helldivers 2, releasing day one on PC. Now, I imagine we won't see every game in the future release day one on PC, because I imagine contracts have already been signed, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see more games released in parity on PC day one. Maybe not necessarily all of their big heavy hitters like God of War or Horizon or Last of Us and stuff like that, but maybe one day we see them try and test the waters with one of those, or a few more of their smaller titles. And maybe Sony looks at the numbers of the games that are sold and realize, hey, wait a minute, there's a lot of money here. And a lot of pre-established notions don't really hold a lot of weight when tested against the cold steel of reality and truth. It'll be interesting to see, because I would absolutely love to see Sony release their games on PC. And I imagine a great model or a great test for this would be to use Bloodborne. Take the hint, Sony, release Bloodborne already. Give me a version of this game that's not at 30 FP freaking S. And you may be wondering, Jmulls, was this just all an elaborate way for you to tell Sony to port Bloodborne to PC? Yes, but also, I think I have a point here. Will it necessarily come to fruition? No, but it's an interesting thought experiment, at least. We have seen Xbox make the decision, make the pull, the plunge into PC gaming, and they're still learning. They're still growing in that regard. But Sony has a distinct advantage when it comes to games compared to Xbox. See, Xbox, at least in this the current generation, has a lot of good policy and a lot of good deals. PC Game Pass is an incredibly incentivizing deal for a lot of people out there. But the problem is, Xbox doesn't release a lot of high-quality games that people want to play consistently. And while Sony and PlayStation struggle when it comes to quantity, the quality of their games is sacrosanct. They're really good, and most of the time, they're really well received. And I know this is going to sound a little bit obvious because it is. People are more willing to buy a game if it's a good game. And say what you will, but most of the time, Sony puts out good games. Hell, they put out great games. I don't think the question will ever be, will these games sell well on PC if you sell them in parity with the console version day one? I don't think that's ever going to be in question. The question is, will Sony make more money? And I think that's what they're trying to determine as well. Because if that answer comes out to yes, if they make more money and projects them to make even more money tomorrow, then they'll do it, because that's what a business does. Because at the end of the day, businesses do not care about tradition or what technically makes sense in the head. They care about the numbers. They care about what will make them more money. And that can change day to day. And they may be looking at the current state of the video games industry and where it's projected to go 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years out, and say maybe making the move to PC is the play, or at least embracing it in some way. And also, I know a little bit late in the video to be putting this one out. I'll leave a link in the description to a PlayStation blog post. Look, I'm sick. It took me a while to remember this one, okay? I'll quote this. Again, link in the description down below to this article. Also, we're pleased to share that we are currently testing the ability for PSVR 2 players to access additional games on PC to offer even more game variety, in addition to the PS VR2 titles available through PS5. It just seems like every time we check in with Sony, they're dipping their toe more and more into the realm of PC. And I think that's a good thing. I'm largely a PC gamer, and I want more games on PC. Duh. I think that's more consumer friendly. I think it's more consumer friendly to have more games and more platforms as well. I think that's a good direction that could possibly make Sony and PlayStation more money while also being pro-consumer. We would still need to see the exact execution, but I think the idea, at least, is a good one, and one that I hope to see them expand on in the future. So with that, I'm gonna go and, well, try and get over whatever bug I've gotten. So, wish me luck! Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Leave a comment down below with what PlayStation game do you think would do the best on PC if it was released day one? Or just what has been your favorite PlayStation game of the last few years? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions. What you would love to see brought back. Stay safe. Have a great day. Hit the bell icon to be notified when I upload and stream again in the future. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay safe. Have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again.